Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Eplan cloud destination. My name is Sergio, and I'll be flying you around the global standards for automation engineering. Um, we will start off by one of the aspects here on the project side of things is that we see the project as being the source of all the data and all your design needs. So as we are producing your project, we're actually, there's certain requirements that we need to associate to it. One of those requirements could be basic engineering information. Another aspect of the requirements needed for your project is to add detailed engineering, as well as maybe some software engineering, maybe some PLC information, and so on and so forth that might need to be provided inside the project environment, as well as production and commissioning information, so redlining information that needs to be also kept track of and maintained in the ePlan project environment. So as you can see, having a clearer view of the project being the all-be-all of all the data that is associated to your project, this is very, very important to have in one repository, one centralized location. Of course, with all the different suite of products available through the ePlan platform, we can provide this level of integrity and associate all aspects of different trades and different departments from your company, all the different information that is required to be captured and also be associated and put into the ePlan project, and also therefore having all this information available to you and to other departments very seamlessly and very streamlined. One of the aspects here is, of course, what we want to present to you is the capability of sending us this information from the project side of things. So coming from the platform environment into the project, we can now send this information to the cloud. So sending this information to the cloud, we'll be able to, send the project, and once the project is stored in the cloud, you can then proceed to actually share the information with other departments, other colleagues, using very ease of use tools, which is basically your standard, web browsers. So the capability of giving other users access to your project through the cloud using a robust, secure system enables you to have, a lot of cleared information that is shared with other users, as well as the other users will be able to view information about the project inside the cloud using simple browser, as I stated earlier. The benefits here, obviously, for them is the capabilities of redlining using a simple tool, not having the need to maintain software and actually, having IT be an issue sometimes and so on and so forth. So by accessing the ePlan cloud, the project inside the ePlan cloud obviously gives you greater flexibility. So obviously, again, here we are saving on costs based on the fact that there's no maintenance that needs to be provided inside when you're using this environment. Of course, the benefits here also are that if there are any updates that need to be done to the cloud environment, this is something that ePlan manages, and it's basically, transparent to the user as we update the information inside the cloud environment. So, of course, the cloud uses the latest technology, and actually, as I stated, using simple browsers, the user can access the project, whether it be from a smartphone, whether it be from a tablet or a laptop. Well, a clear scenario would be, obviously, if you're traveling and you need to redline really quickly while, the engineers are doing design work, you can work in collaboration. And obviously, this intent here is to maximize the time that you have available, and obviously reducing costs and reducing the time that needs to be spent for commissioning and production, of course. So this obviously giving you ease of use functionality through a standard, browser tool from any operating system, whether it be Mac iOS, whether it be, as long as you can access the internet, that's all you really need to worry about. The access from anywhere, so obviously as long as you have an internet connection, you can access the project from any, from your favorite Starbucks location to, from wherever you may reside, whether it be the office or home office, accessing information through the cloud really gives you a high level of flexibility. Update information again, you're always using the latest software because we are maintaining that inside the cloud environment. There is no installation required from your end, and therefore IT, of course, is a little bit more, they have a little bit less to worry about in this case. And also, the capabilities of connecting through REST API, maybe third-party cloud-to-cloud services, will also give you greater flexibility when you're actually producing this project inside the cloud environment. Again, additional benefits, of course, is that to this project that resides in the cloud, I can start to add users who might actually benefit from having this cloud service. Users that might not necessarily have the savviness to use the Eplan tool, on site, and therefore, using a simple browser and giving them the capability to just make annotations will greatly increase the level of productivity that you will have. Obviously, by adding, people who are doing the commissioning, people doing the maintenance, and maybe the assembly work, this is a very ease of use tool that will benefit a lot of you users out there, of course. Data access also providing downstreamed information. So obviously data that is stored in the cloud eventually from the nodes or information that was associated, we can actually bring that back down into our Eplan environment, of course, and that also allows you to have greater flexibility in the aspects to be able to communicate this information. So let me show you a little bit how this all works out. So let me go ahead. And here we go. We got to reshare the screen here. Okay, so I am in an Eplan project right now. So I am working and doing some changes. I'm doing some design work, and some of the information that was already associated and uploaded to the cloud, whether it be a colleague or an associate or even a customer, connected to the cloud and associated some information. So what I can do here is under utilities, I can connect to the Eplan cloud, can go into my group environment, I can see the project, and I can see if there's any information about the project that I need to be notified about. And of course, in this case, I have nothing, but I can still see who is allowed to do work inside this project. So I can actually assign users to actually have access to that project. So I can see who's actually making changes and so on and so forth. There's properties of the project that are visible to you inside the cloud environment as you're working inside the Eplan project, of course, and this information is always data that's been associated to the project itself. Now, of course, from this environment, from the Eplan environment, that's all great, but let's take a look at how all this looks like inside the cloud. So let's access the cloud by going into a simple browser, starting up my application, logging in, of course, and I'll have the same environment, so it's not alien to me. From this environment, what I can do is I can go ahead and see the projects that are open right now inside my cloud environment. I can have access, of course, to properties. I can see information about the dates, the comments that were made, maybe some additional information about this particular project. So it's a very visual viewer that enables the user to have information at his fingertips through this environment. And of course, from this environment, what I can do is I can actually open the project up. So inside the cloud environment, I will have access to view the different pages. So here I have some schematic sheets, I have some information. Of course, I can actually view this also using a navigator type tool, which enables you to actually very quickly select the different pages that you require to see, and you can navigate through those as well. You do have filter capabilities, so I can actually filter for page information to be show me the information that is schematic related, so nothing with the documents, no reports necessarily needed for me to see, and I can filter that out. When I filter that out, I can actually go and navigate again, as I was stating. We can filter through and see some of the different objects that are placed, and I can actually go ahead and select them and see what some of these designs are, what some of these devices are. And of course, if I select here this particular device, I can actually navigate and see information about that device. I can start to get a clear, detailed information about that specific device. If I select here this particular part, information that has been associated to this device here in the schematic, you'll notice that you have the shopping cart here. So, and of course, from the shopping cart environment, what I can do is, if I select it, it will open up the data portal in the web environment, of course, and I can go and access information. I can actually here say log in. I'm going to go into my data portal environment within using my credentials, of course. And the benefit here of what you can see is I can have clear, detailed information about the device that's been used. And another benefit here as well is the fact that I have access to documentation. This documentation that is being used is something that I can access through the cloud. So as I'm doing my design work, as I need information about this particular component inside this project that I'm working in, having access to the internet and all the different functions available, of course, enables you to have greater integrity and a quicker response to maybe some questions you might have about a particular device. And as you can see here, the link will automatically bring me to the location of the information that I require for this specific object that I need in my project. And one of the benefits here again is the fact that navigating through certain websites is something that can be tedious and time consuming, especially if you don't know where to go. So the benefit here is that just a simple link, a simple click of a push button will guide you and bring you directly to the location where the information resides, and then you can follow through and continue your design work very easily, not wasting too much time. Benefits here as well are the capability of filter functionality. So I can actually filter for function information. So if I start to use some keywords here, so function dot, I will be able to select here different properties that are available for function related information. I can select here the DT, identifying that DT is going to be maybe, let's say, FC1. That's, I want to see all the objects in my project that have an FC1 associated to it. So obviously when I select this, and if I open up here the function, if I select this FC1 circuit breaker, it will be highlit inside this environment. So very quickly, using filter functionality, I can navigate and see if ever I need to look at something in specific. I can actually filter for those functions. You can filter for page information and project information as well. And through this environment, of course, the cross-referencing function works. So if ever you need to navigate over, you can actually go ahead and navigate and see, where these objects are targeted and where they're going. So now for the red line functionality, if I look here and I decide that I need to work on a specific, I'm doing maybe commissioning work, and I'm actually on the site, on site, I'm in front of the machine, and as I press the button to activate this machine, I realize that nothing's happening. So I'd like to know, one of the biggest issues that we have, of course, when we're doing this kind of work, for those of you who actually do it, is the fact that when you are out there, when you are in the field, you need access to documentation very rapidly. And of course, we have a tendency of carrying, these large binders with the schematic sheets in it, and then I have to go through the pages one by one if ever I see that there's something going wrong. So there's a lot of time consumption, and there's a lot of, documents that I have to carry along with me. Of course, in the digital age, this is something that, we don't necessarily need to worry about anymore. And even if I'm commissioning and I have a, smartphone and I see that there's an error, right away I can quickly access the cloud environment, and I can actually troubleshoot even using my smartphone. So, mind blown here. If I go ahead and look for a particular page here, so I'm going to do a page, and I'm looking for description information. So what is the page description equals to service unit? So here's service unit. I'm looking for that specific. Let me type that here, service unit. So I'm in the field. I'm commissioning. I'm in front of the machine, and I realize that there's something that is not happening. Something's wrong. So when I'm looking at this environment, I want to get some detail, because this is the pressure sensor is not giving me the output that I need, and I'm not getting anything out of it. So I can actually select this object, see the different functions available, and I can actually see where this is tied to, maybe in the electrical environment. If I select here the black box, it will navigate to that environment and show me, obviously, here is that object, here are the connections, this connection is connected to this I/O point, and of course this I/O point is probably the the return signal that's not being fed into it. And if I click here and select it, I can actually see where this I/O point is being displayed or is being shown. So the benefit here, of course, is the fact that I can actually start to have information relating to this I/O point, and I can start to see data associated to this. So here, if I select that, and I can see here the PLC box. When I select this, it'll actually navigate to the plug console here where I need to specify. And right away, as I'm working in this environment, I can see what the issue is. I can see that the actual connector is plugged into the X1 port where it actually is supposed to be connected to the X2 port. So right away, I can do some redlining information. I can grab this, grabbing my redlining tools, and add some text, and I can state here in my redlining text, I can say, please, because I'm polite, change this from port 1 to port 2. And I say here save. The information is obviously saved, and I have access to move things to actually, resize or reassociate the environment, and I can actually send this information out now to be added into the cloud. Right now it's been associated in the cloud, and I need to have it commissioned. So here, if I open up here in my settings, I'm just going to filter out, and I'm going to look at all my redlining that you'll see here using my filter functions. The redlining information is associated as being new, and I can do now is I can commit this information. So I'm going to commit these red lines into the project, into the cloud, and now they are stored in the cloud and accessible to everyone who's working in this project. Along with the redlining functionality, you do also have the capability of taking your own personal notes. So there is the redlining tool that is going to be accessible to everyone, but if you want to make some notes for yourself as you're doing maybe some production work, you can use the greenlining tool. So if I select this greenlining tool and I say here, I'm in the field and I connected this port is connected, and now I grab the other connector, plugged it into the port, this port is also now connected. So I'm putting little notes that are, my own information, and not for everyone to see, just for me to see. So this information will be associated, and you can benefit from having that level of integration. Now, once those red lines have been committed, the beauty here is that if I communicate this information back to the engineer who's working on the particular design, he will be able to access now the data, the Eplan cloud, and he'll get a message from me, hey, go ahead, check out the cloud. I did some red lines. Take a look at that and see if you can fix that. And obviously, I can see here that 2 messages have been added. I can actually go ahead and select here the messages, and I can open up the project. And when I open up the project, I see the 2 messages that were made by me or by the other user, of course. So obviously here, if I select them, those messages will now be displayed inside my Eplan environment. So inside the same Eplan environment that I'm working in, I can easily see and read the messages that were added to it. Please change the port from 1 to 2. Oh, yes, of course, my mistake. Okay, so I go ahead and I make the needed changes. And once the changes have been done and accomplished, I can actually go ahead and say here, this change has been done, and this is the red line. I don't need that anymore. That's done. And as soon as I come out of this environment, close that up, the red line information now is gone. Of course, I made the changes, and I could proceed with my design work. So again, the benefit here is the capability of accessing information of the project through a cloud-based system, and then sharing and relaying that information back into the different departments and the different needs. This level of information, detailed data that you have access to, obviously, enables you guys to have a little bit more clear view, not only of the shared information that you have with the other departments, but also with the level of information and the ease of use that you have. That's the benefit here, is that you don't need to have cumbersome applications that you need to maintain, or you have to get training on, or you have to have some level of high knowledge to be able to use these tools. these tools are, very easily used, and it's common practice in some cases using these particular tools, and obviously this gives you greater flexibility to the different environments available. So from here, of course, there are different aspects as well. We can look at the different, viewpoints of different objects. We can see different associations. There's a lot more to come, as well as the product itself grows. And of course, this is something that is very beneficial to all of us. All the different tools that we need to maintain, and all the different tools that are out there for different versions and different hardware types. This is something that there's a lot of maintenance work that has to be done with them to have that conform and work properly. So obviously here with a web-based environment, there's no more need for me to actually go into all that level of detail to maintain all that. So hopefully you enjoyed this, and hopefully you guys had a great experience seeing this. I hope, as I personally myself, I'm very impressed with what I see when I look at these kind of applications that are available to you. And the fact here for me, the personal aspect is that guys who are out there who are spending so much time doing commissioning, doing work, documenting, and so on and so forth, having these tools available to you in an ease of use format really livens up my day, because I know that at the end of the day, there's a lot of you that are going to have big smiles on your face when you're going to be doing this level of production. Again, we have different products that we're showcasing. Hopefully you guys will be available for the different sessions that are coming up. I highly, what you can do is I highly suggest you to go into maybe the foyer, go into the chat area as well. If there are any questions maybe that you come that come to you later, and maybe you want to have some responses on certain things that you'd like to have a little bit more detailed information about, we do have colleagues who are present, high-level technical guys who know these things inside and out. You can ask them questions if you have any doubts and so on and so forth. So highly recommend you guys to share love and let us know what you feel about what you've seen today. Again, we do have additional sessions coming up. These sessions are being recorded, so you will be able to hear them in the future. If you do have colleagues that maybe missed some of these sessions and you'd like to include them, they weren't able to attend today, you will be able to give them the link, which will be obviously displayed and presented and so on and so forth, and these videos will be accessible for a while to come. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I'm going to open up the chat, so I'm going to go ahead and maybe there's some Q&As that we can actually get into. I'm just going to pause the screen here. All right, let me see here. What do we got? We've got a few. That's pretty cool. All right, let's take a look at this. Is this cloud functionality a part of basic Eplan, or is it something that has to be purchased separately? Is it part of a module? Of course, it's a service. It's an additional service, so there are additional costs to different services. And since it's a web-based service, this is one of the benefits is there's no maintenance involved as software, on the software aspect of things. As you probably noticed, this is for the version 2.8, so our version that will be coming out in the fall, and this is something that will be we have showcased at the Hanover Fair. We're showcasing it today as well, and we're actually very eager to have this in the hands of you guys out there to start to use it. And so it is a separate functionality that you can use. All right, so any other questions? Yeah, let me check the other Q&A side. Okay, no questions there. Let's take a look at the chat. Good stuff. So again, these sessions are being recorded, and we highly recommend you to take a look at them later on. Maybe some things that you missed. If you do have any additional questions, on the functions that you've seen today, feel free to let us know. Will this be a part of the Cogeneer? Obviously, the Cogeneer is a separate application. It's not necessarily something that is inclusive. The Cogeneer is we have showcased today to that there is a Cogeneer cloud application, but it's also obviously on premise for now, and eventually everything is pretty much headed towards the cloud. One of the biggest hurdles that we have is the maintenance work that goes along, dealing with who handles our data, how do we have our data managed, and therefore there's a lot of software, a lot of hardware that's involved. And of course, if we can start to use services like cloud-based applications, we can reduce that level of maintenance. So yeah, the end goal will be to have things in the cloud, but this is not necessarily part of the Cogeneer environment. But once you have the Cogeneer and you did produce a project, you can then upload it into the cloud, and then you will have this project that was generated through Cogeneer in the cloud environment so that other users have access to it. So it works in conjunction, I guess, if you will. All right. Good stuff. All right, so I'll leave the Q&A session open for a little bit longer. If you do have any questions that you think about after the fact, feel free to do so. If not, I'll end it here, and thank you again for being part of this little trip around the cloud. And if you have any things that I can help you with, feel free to let me know. I'll be here still giving some more sessions, so you can come back and take a look at the other presentations coming up. I appreciate it, and thank you very much for attending.